What's up, everybody? I'm proud to be back once again. Hey, it's the holiday season, everybody. I want to say, I hope everyone's enjoying their time. No matter what you celebrate, I'm proud to be back, and I decided to get one last what if done for the year until the new year starts. And why not? Let's get back at it. Alright, so where we last left off, we had covered the 3-year training arc in between the Mecha Frieza saga and the Android saga. So, new developments had occurred, such as Goku briefly getting into Grade 2 during the 3-year time skip. Due to training with Krillin in the buff forming being inspired, he decided to bulk up his form, and this was the result. Speaking of developments that were done during the 3-year time skip, I also wanted to cover the fact that Piccolo, unlike the original canon, now has access to the Kaioken, which he has gotten within at least 2 years. Now, when it comes to Piccolo's multipliers, I want to get this out of the way. For long periods of time, he can hold times 10, but he can obviously, at this point, over 2 years of training, can also access times 20. Why is this? Is because his Namekian biology, it allows him to regenerate, and he's more durable than the humans, and he could take longer times with the multipliers. However, that doesn't mean in this scenario the humans are left high and dry, of course, especially the star of our scenario, Krillin himself, for Pete's sake. But anyways, as well, covering the other humans briefly would be Chaozu, Yamcha, and Tien, who all gain access to the Kaioken technique that was taught to them on King Kai's planet. Now, each of them would vary in their multipliers, as Auto can only make guesstimates on who would do what for how long in these 3 years of training. However, I would like to come up with concrete answers. Okay, so for Chaozu, I would imagine Chaozu would be around 10. Yamcha would be getting up there with the 15. However, Tien would actually get himself quite higher, actually reaching to 30 times Kaioken. Now, why times 30? Well, remember, I'm also trying to show, as well as he develops further on, he's trying to combine his buff form with higher multipliers of Kaioken, just like Krillin, who taught him this. And not to mention, let's speak about Krillin on this regard, as Krillin had access to train with a Super Saiyan for Pete's sake, and Namekian. Now, how high is Krillin's multiplier at this point? Considering he had a better grasp with the Kaioken technique, as well as training with high-level opponents such as Piccolo and Super Saiyan Goku, granted that would only be in his buff form stacking with Kaioken, I do believe Krillin would reach up to a times 40 at the moment with all this training. With all this out of the way, I do believe this will be the end of our recap, and now we could finally get started with our scenario and enter the Android saga. Alright, so our scenario basically starts the same up until Yamcha encountering Dr. Gero. Now, Yamcha, compared to the original canon, is much stronger than his original form. With access to Kaioken and the buff form, he would quickly bulk up to defend himself against Dr. Gero, smacking his hand away, going toe-to-toe with the Mad Doctor at the moment to buy time, as the other Z-Fighters would arrive, as Dr. Gero and Android 19 would all depart, as both sides went off to a wasteland to properly battle away from the city. So it would become toe-to-toe with Android 19 facing off against Goku, just like the original. Now, Goku is stronger than the original, let that be known. However, in this scenario, Goku would still succumb to the heart virus at the moment, being incapacitated when he tried to eat a sensu bean. So who has to step up? Well, none other than Krillin. They'd engage in melee combat until Krillin jumped away for a moment, engaged in solar flare to blind the android, buying himself enough time to distract him. As then, Tien Shinhan jumped up into the air, charging up a massive tri-beam, and blasting away Android 19, who was distracted, just quick enough before the android could properly absorb the blast. And now, laid on the ground, the head of the fallen android. The situation was not completely advantageous to the Z-Fighters. After all, at the current moment, Goku was dealing with heart problems and needed to be properly secured and sent away so he can take his medicine. In this scenario, Gohan would be the one who actually take him instead of Yamcha, seeing he'll be able to fight. Now then, the rest of the crew would chase off against Dr. Gero, who would quickly depart, chasing after him into the hills, into the mountains, as all the Z-Fighters would give chase, trying to catch up to the tyrannical Dr. Gero, fearing what he can do. I think I should probably explain myself real quick. How did Krillin and Tien actually defeat Android 19? If you're thinking, well, if a 6 Super Saiyan Goku couldn't do it, how could these Earthlings do it? Well, you have to understand, these two
especially Krillin, busted their butts with the buff form and Kaioken multipliers throughout the 3 years of training, and they're far above their canon selves here.
Insane multipliers, they can give the Saiyans a run for their money if they had to.
Or at least the original canon versions of the Saiyans anyways, as Goku has gotten stronger as well due to the constant training with Krillin and the others. And for those quickly who have not seen the scenario before, Vegeta is currently sealed in the Mafuba in case anyone wonders where he's at. Just like the original canon, there would be a brief scuffle where Dr. Gero actually blindsides Piccolo and starts to absorb some of his energy, catching him in the air, distracted. However, in this scenario, Gohan will not be the one who spots him. Instead, it'd either be Yamcha or Tien, who quickly go over there. However, Dr. Gero still has enough time to run off, though losing one of his arms in the process.
Fleeing the scene, the Mad Doctor would flee off to his laboratory in order to turn on the androids, activating them. Android 17 and 18. The killer androids exiting their pod as they would then talk to their creator, Dr. Gero. However, as he would be belligerent as he talked, Android 18 and 17 would have disposed of him just like the original. Now then, the Z-Fighters would be standing outside the laboratory, and including one, future Gohan, who would rush into the laboratory, turning Super Saiyan and blast it open, sending it all to Kingdom Come, just trying to dispose of these androids once and for all as the lab blew up around them. As a golden light engulfed the area, the androids would escape, activating a pod, as out came Android 16. The Z-Fighters would be surprised that not only did they survive the initial blast, but there was an additional android that future Gohan did not inform them of. However, this did not matter at this point, because they still had to take him down, as then future Gohan would engage in battle with Android 18, as they would take off into the sky, zipping past the Z-Fighters in a bright light, clashing one by one with their fists. Explosions of prime. Android 18 engulfing the area with energy blasts. Explosions covering the battlefield as future Gohan would ignite in his aura, charging directly at the android. However, the android would be quick to this as she delivered 2 devastating strikes with her legs, sending him down flying, as they would then engage in another clash. However, in the midst of this, as her jacket torn off, she engulfed future Gohan in a massive globe of an energy blast, knocking him out. As the other Z-Fighters went in to interfere, Yamcha would be confronted by Android 17, in addition to Piccolo also rushing in to face off against Android 17, as they both ignited into Kaioken simultaneously. Tien would rush into his buff form, engulfed in a Kaioken times 30, rushing Android 18, striking her heavily across the face, sending her through a canyon, through the walls as he flew after her, just charging at her, strike after strike after strike. Then she would form a barrier for a brief moment, knocking him back, as she would fire a point-blank energy blast directly at him, launching him back. They would engage into melee combat before Tien jumps back to ignite a tri-beam times 30, blasting the android once more. Unlike the original canon, Piccolo was actually able to give 17 a run for his money in this situation as opposed to the original, due to his access to the Kaioken. However, in saying this, along with Yamcha, there would still be an issue, stamina, as the androids had infinite energy and slowly, one by one, they would start to be whittled down, stamina depleted as each Z-Fighter would be knocked out. Not killed, but knocked out. First Yamcha, even in buff form, colliding with Android 17's fist. Shockwaves would emanate around the area. But eventually, Android 17 would get a decisive strike against Yamcha, knocking him out, as Piccolo would keep up the battle. Tien would also be engaging in battle against Android 18, but would also be defeated. Although the androids are left worse for wear than the original, Piccolo taking a knee as he couldn't keep up anymore, even with his high regeneration, and all that left was Krillin. For the first time in forever, he felt like he actually hesitated into engaging in a battle as they started to walk off, saying they were going to kill Goku, as he stood on the road, trembling for a second, about to bulk up, saying he can't let them get away. And then the kiss, just like in canon, happened to him as he hesitated, and then he stared completely terrified and confused at 18 as they both left. Krillin would then have to distribute sensu beans to the group and start to think about what just happened. Despite all their training, they were still defeated. Unlike the original canon, it was not a complete curb stomp. In fact, for some of the Z Fighters, they were actually getting pretty close to matching the android's level. However, due to the infinite energy and the taxing strain of Kaioken holding in long bursts, eventually they would be worn out. Not killed, but defeated nonetheless, as they would all be left laying there. As Sensu beans were distributed, Piccolo, after receiving the Sensu bean, would depart, heading off towards the lookout. He knew what he had to do. He needed to merge with Kami, because he felt at this point this would be the only way he could potentially stop the androids, because he felt he was so close to defeating 17. If he had just got an extra boost in power, he would be able to stop them once and for all.
But that is where we're going to be leaving off this part at least, and we will pick it back up at the fusion in the next part in the new year. I want everybody to enjoy their time, have a Merry Christmas, and have a good one. DragonBall, signing out.